So, a social policy can be defined as a government's course of action designed to promote the welfare of its citizens. So, we may think about social policy as something kind of neutral, based on the best ideas of a society. But social policies are very much shaped by that society. So, they are tied to the political system of a given society and shaped by citizen values. So, how might social policy for children be influenced by the political and cultural beliefs of a particular society? Well, the policies we develop for children in, for example, the United States will be shaped by our beliefs about children, our beliefs about what they need to do well, our beliefs about what a child needs to succeed in the world. And so the values of our society will very much shape the kind of policies that we choose to create. So, some prominent examples of social policies for children in the United States include No Child Left Behind, which was a policy that sought to improve educational outcomes for children around the country by implementing required testing. Another one is Head Start, a preschool program aimed to help low-income students have a good start in their educational journey. Another example might be discount school lunch programs. It's the idea that children need adequate nutrition if they're going to be able to do well in school. And so the beliefs of American culture, the strong belief in the importance of education, for example, has played a role in shaping the kind of social policies that we develop for children. Remember, in public policy, there's very much a limited pool of resources, of economic resources. And so every society has to determine, where do we want to allocate funding? What really matters? Which social policies are truly important? So the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child is a very famous document, a document that was meant to outline the rights of children. It's been ratified by all countries in the United Nations, with the exception of the United States. The US has often resisted signing these types of international documents and conventions. Nonetheless, it is a very important document that does guide policies in many countries around the world, including the United States. And so this document encodes the rights of children. Now think about it. Children are very vulnerable members of societies, easily exploited. They often cannot vote. They often cannot advocate for themselves or engage in political activism. They rely on adults and parents and caregivers to advocate for them. And so it's very important that these vulnerable members of society have their rights encoded. Article 3.1 states, in all actions concerning children, whether undertaken by public or private social welfare institutions, courts of law, administrative authorities, or legislative bodies, the best interests of the child shall be a primary consideration. Article 9.1 states, states parties shall ensure that a child shall not be separated from his or her parents against their will, except when competent authorities subject to judicial review determine, in accordance with applicable law and procedures, that such separation is necessary for the best interests of the child. Now think about what that states. Around the world, there are very different and diverse beliefs about the role of parents. In some countries, children's rights are strongly recognized, and children have the ability and the legal power at times to emancipate themselves from parents when needed, to call the authorities when needed if parents are not acting properly. But in other countries, children's rights have not been strengthened to such a strong extent, and parental authority is considered to be of primary importance. But what this is stating, this Article 9.1, is that there may come a time when authorities determine that it would be to the child's best interest to be separated from the parent. And in those cases, subject to judicial review, the child has the right to separate. So this is a very interesting article that has been ratified by many countries around the world, despite the fact that there are differing ideas about the role of parental authority in a child's life in different countries. Article 12.1 states, States parties shall assure to the child who is capable of forming his or her own views the right to express those views freely in all matters affecting the child, the views of the child being given due weight in accordance with the age and maturity of the child. So this raises important questions as well, because again, around the world, there are different ideas and beliefs about whether children can make legal decisions for themselves. This article is stating that children's viewpoints matter and that we should listen to their viewpoint and we should consider their opinion when determining what is the best course of action to support a child. And so this convention, a famous convention signed by many countries around the world, outlines the rights of children that should be respected by governments around the world. So go ahead and watch video 2, UNICEF Social Policy HD. This is a video about UNICEF, which stands for the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. And here you'll learn about the activities of this organization. This is an organization that has devoted itself to supporting policies to support the welfare of children around the world. As we think about the activities of UNICEF, the complexity of promoting child welfare programs around the world, when we think about the complexity of challenges faced by children around the world, we start to really see the importance of science-informed policies to support children. There are so many possible paths to follow, so many programs that one could try to promote. Should we be focusing on education? Should we be focusing on parenting programs or programs focused on nutritional health, programs that are focused on helping children develop emotional and social skills? There's so many avenues to focus on. Should we just focus on reducing poverty? And so there's a great need for research about policies that can best support children. We need not only research about what kind of new programs to implement, but we need evaluation research. We need research about how effective are these interventions? Are these interventions having an impact? Which policies can reach the most people? Which policies are appropriate for a given country and a given challenge? So there's a great need for science-informed policy and research in this area. So go ahead and watch, in brief, Early Childhood Program Effectiveness. This video discusses in detail the importance of selecting and evaluating programs to support children, interventions and social policies to support children, to determine which programs will best support child outcomes. And as you watch the video, ask yourself, what types of programs do the researchers in the video believe are the most effective to support children? And so, the reason we're discussing social policy is to really recognize that there's a great need for research in the area of child psychology, child development, because these important scientific endeavors inform social welfare programs for children, among other things. And there still exist many debates in the field of child psychology. There is not a definitive answer about what programs would best support child outcomes. As we're about to discuss, there are many ongoing debates in the field as to how best to support children. What are the best approaches? Should we intervene early in life or later in life? Does nature matter more or does nurture matter more, etc.? All of these debates that we will discuss shortly. And these debates need to continue to be explored and understood so that we can develop the best programs to support children. Now let's turn to some of the key debates in child psychology. The debate between nature versus nurture. Proponents of nature suggest that our biological inheritance and genes are an important influence on development. Proponents of nurture suggest that environmental experiences such as parenting, nutrition, medical care, peers, community, media, and culture are a crucial influence on our development. Most scholars definitely agree that both are important. And yet, scientists do sometimes tend to believe one is a bit more important or influential than the other. And you can ask this question to yourself. What do you tend to believe is more important in shaping development across time? Do you believe they're equally important? Do you tend to believe that nurture plays a larger role in shaping us, or nature plays a larger role in shaping us? And it's always important to keep in mind as we discuss this question of the relative importance of nature and nurture that nature and nurture also interact with one another. So they do not exist in isolation. Our biological processes are very much shaped by our environmental context. And the environmental experiences that we may seek out or put ourselves into, or the way that we react to the environment, can be influenced by our biological endowment. And so nature and nurture interact with one another. One's belief about the relative importance of nature versus nurture, or their belief that they're both equally important, is very important in shaping the kinds of social policies one could create. If we're trying to create an early childhood education program and we think nature is the most important factor in shaping development, our policies would look very different than if we tend to think that nurture is the most important factor in shaping development. The same is true when it comes to therapy. If we tend to think nature is the most important, we may try one therapeutic approach. If we think nurture matters more, we would try a different therapeutic approach. So there are real-world implications.